Hi, I'm Michael Weinberg from Charles Smith Jewish Day School. And I just want to point out that the defense budget right now, including the discretionary spending, is actually around 24–25% of the whole national budget. I don't think it's a little bit more than 17%. But that's regardless. If anything, it can be higher than that because that money, of that, it's about 80% of that of all the money spent by the U.S. Department of Defense goes right back into the U.S. economy in the ways of paying defense contractors, paying soldiers, personnel other than soldiers, civilian personnel. All that money is going straight back into the U.S. economy, which is really good because if you pay right this year alone, which is one of the reasons the U.S. defense spending went up so much, was that the U.S. soldiers, the basic U.S. infantry soldier, got a 3% pay raise, and that money in such a economic downturn is really good because they're going to go out because they have more money. They're going to go out and spend. They're going to go buy stuff, and that's going to go right back into the economy again. Yeah, and another thing that we get so much technology from the Army that we don't even think that we would get from the Army, like cell phones, GPS technology, the internet, all that stuff comes from the Army. And if we lower the Army spending, then we're not going to get that technology, and we're not going to be ahead of the world. And in being ahead of the world, America's the lone superpower right now, and it's our duty to kind of police the world, protect the world, like what we're doing right now. And if we're not as far ahead of the world as we are right now, that's going to be extremely detrimental if someone catches up to us. As you saw during the Cold War, that's another example when another country was on par with us in level of defense spending. And for that year, it was really bad for the United States because every single day people would live in fear of Soviets bombing the United States. So we need to be way ahead. Right now, the U.S. is roughly 50% of the entire world's military budget, and that's important because we need to be so far ahead of everyone to protect ourselves because everyone's kind of gunning for us. Also, this money doesn't only go towards wars and defense funding, but two examples. One is Katrina. As soon as Katrina happened, one of the first people there was the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, which is paid for by the Department of Defense, and they were repairing the levees, and they were helping people get out of houses, and they were there, basically, and they're still there, repairing the city of New Orleans. And if we lower their spending, they're going to get less spending, and we're not going to have the people that are going to go out there. The second example is the tsunami in Indonesia a couple of years ago. Again, the first group out there was the U.S. Navy, along with the Red Cross, and they were helping there. They were rebuilding houses. They're still out there now, and they're still helping out a lot. And if we lower the spending, it's not only going to be worse for our troops, but it's going to be worse for them, for all these other people that were helping us. And right now, the United States Army and the United States military is the largest employer in the United States. So if we lower their budget, they're going to have to spend less, and it's just going to be really hurtful for all these people because right now we spend roughly, I think, $5 billion on soldiers' housing, soldiers' defense benefits, veterans' affairs that are connected to that, and the GI Bill. And it's basically, we just lower spending. It's going to be really bad for all these people, and it's going to be really bad for our economy. Questions?
How much time do we have left? 2 minutes. Okay. Go ahead.
I think you made a lot of good points there, but let's say that even if the budget was under 20% and it was fine there, what happens if we got into a situation where we needed to go over 20% and we were fighting a war that was necessary or something we needed to do through the Army, through the Department of Defense, where we needed a lot of money allocated there? What would we do?
Well, I totally agree with you. I think there's no reason to say that you should cap any part of the defense budget because we can't look 20 years in the future and see what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen then. So how can we make a definitive, concrete statement right now that's going to prevent us from doing something in the future? What if we get into a war with Iran and we need to spend a lot more money to buy troops, pay troops, and to pay defense contractors, and we can't go for 20%? I just don't know what we would do then.
There's an incredible amount of money being sent to the war in Iraq and being spent on all the wars that's going on in the world that the United States is fighting in. But wouldn't it be more beneficial to our country if the money was spent here in our economy?
Well, two things. A, the wars are not paid for by the Department of Defense budget. They're additional discretionary spending that does not count for the Department of Defense budget. Second off, what I said before, all the defense contractors that are there, all the civilian personnel that are working for the Army, they're not in the Army, they're going to come back and they're going to send that money back home to their families. So I think the war in Iraq, and it's been shown that wars are actually good for the economy in the short term, and in the long term sometimes, as you look at World War II and you look at the Cold War as well. And I think that wars, if managed correctly, can actually be good for the economy. Obviously, they're not good to go into war, but I don't think that necessarily being in a war is hurtful to the economy.
In the white shirt.
You mentioned the USSR and how America is the lowest superpower, but then you said how we're always being done for and how we need to make sure we're defending against that. How do those two statements make sense?
Well, the first statement is that we are the lone superpower, and I don't think anyone, other than China, which is still way behind us in terms of our military, which is a big reason we need to keep spending. And what was your second point?
That you said everyone's always done with us. There's no you said if we're the only superpower, how could there be another country that can compete with us?
Well,
Any motion to rescind?
What's that say?
Second,
Answer your question.
okay. What I'm saying is that. Wait, what was your question? Again?
Okay. If America is the only superpower and you say that everyone's dumbing for us, why do we need to increase our budget if there's no?
How do those two statements make sense together?
All right, those two statements make sense because right now the Soviets. There is no Soviets. It's Russia. But I'd say that Al Qaeda, all the terrorist organizations, the Middle East, China. I think all those countries are trying to unseat America, trying to become on par with America.
Maybe you shouldn't cross the T.
And I think that we need to spend much more than them to keep ahead of them, because it's important that we remain the most powerful country in the world, so that we can protect ourselves, so that we can help the world in general.
Okay, so now is there a motion to extend the speech?
Oops. I keep moving my hand.
Ayes?
Aye.
Yay.
Nay.
Ouch.
The ayes have it. Okay. 1 minute, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. You in the back.
The resolution is to cap military spending as a proportion of the budget, and according to the pro speaker, it's at 17% right now. But you seem to be arguing that we should not lower military spending. How is this in line with the resolution?
In what way? I don't understand.
Would you like to clarify that?
Yeah.
Your argument is based entirely on how we should not lower the defense budget, but the resolution does not say that we're going to lower the defense budget. It's for capping future spending.
No. Yeah, I'm saying that. Well, it's actually 24% if you include the discretionary spending, but I'm saying that we shouldn't cap it because in the near future we may have to go over it to accomplish all these things, because we don't know how much things are going to cost in the future. We don't know what could come up in the future. So I think it'd be really kind of stupid for us to set up a cap for this, because we don't. What if we have to go over it?
How much defense that means? Go on.
All right, if wars aren't provided for by defense spending, but rather by discretionary spending, and that discretionary spending is the only part that's pushing us over 20%, if that's the extra 7% that pushes us from 17 to 24, then why do we have to? Then why won't you cap the defense budget and just leave discretionary spending alone? If it's the wars, or if wars are the only thing that are going to be, that you're saying could change this issue.
Well, it's kind of the same thing as there, is that we're not doing that for right now, but for 5 years in the future, if we have to go over it, and there's a cap. We're not going to be able to go over it.
No, let him finish his thought.
If we have to protect our citizens, then we're not going to be able to, because we're going to have to go over 20%. We're not going to be able to.